Good evening. I am Ajit Jha, CEO of Power Pixar Channel and the editor for the Public Global. And today, in the Public Global debate, we are going to bring back an issue which I addressed just a few days ago, the politics of delimitation. Delimitation has become a very big issue suddenly in Indian politics because Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Mr. Stalin has kind of argued and he has opposed this attempt of delimitation that is supposed to be take place in next year, basically. And he is arguing that if the delimitation exercise is brought about by the center, that the southern states will lose out, and especially Tamil Nadu will lose out because, and the argument is that Tamil Nadu and some of the southern states, for example, let's say Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra, etc., they have been, even Telangana, they have been very successful in containing population growth. And now, once the delimitation exercise is basically to ensure that since population has increased, therefore, you need you change the boundaries of the Lok Sabha constituencies, that of assembly constituencies, to make it fairer in terms of representation. That is the essential principle behind delimitation exercise. And the philosophy was spelled out in our Constituent Assembly debates, in the Constitution: one man, one vote, one value. A notion of political equality and justice. That, for example, caste survey in Bihar has shown that the population of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes have increased quite a bit compared to the last caste census records that we had. So therefore, the representation of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes must increase. Now that's one principle that will be addressed with the delimitation exercise. Or let me point out another issue. For example, the 1/3 reservation of women. That has been a big issue in India for the last 3 decades. And the NDA government had actually passed that, that we will have 1/3 reservation for women in perhaps 2029 Lok Sabha elections. So that is another issue, the counting of women voters versus male voters in each constituency, so that you get a fairer representation. That is the basic idea of the delimitation exercise. Now, given the fact, as I pointed out, Stalin is arguing that the southern states have controlled their population better compared to the northern states, the poorer states, the Bimaru states. For example, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, maybe even other states like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, etc., Rajasthan. So the argument is that their birth rates are higher in the north, the birth rates are lower in the south, because the south is more educated, richer, more developed. So the delimitation will end up hurting the southern states, hurting Tamil Nadu, and they will provide greater representation to the northern states where population is exploding in a way, especially in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So that is his argument. And he has held an all-party meeting yesterday, and he brought in he brought all the parties of Tamil Nadu, except for 2 parties: Bharatiya Janata Party, which obviously does not agree with him, and number 2, Tamil Manila Congress, which is an ally. It's a very small party. It's an ally of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But otherwise, even Anna DMK, which is supposed to be the rival of DMK, attended this meeting along with the Congress party and along with several other smaller groups. At least half a dozen parties were there in that meeting, and they all kind of voiced a similar opinion. The Congress has been a little dodgy. They kind of sided with him, but they have kept quiet on the delimitation. Why? Because the Congress has seats in North India and South India. They don't want to be seen favorable to either the South or the North, because they are afraid that there might be a backlash against the Congress in the North. But at the same time, they attended the meeting in Tamil Nadu. And what Stalin, who's now become the big hero of the southern states in a way, because he's championing the cause, he argued that 1971 census should be the basis for delimitation for the next 30 years. Not the census was supposed to take place in 2021. The census report still hasn't come, and we are in 2025. The latest census report has not come. The last census report we still have official is 2011. We rely on that for all our assessments of India's population growth, India's demographics, its economic parameters, etc., etc. So his argument is, don't take the last census. He's arguing because in 2026, people feel the assembly elections of Tamil Nadu is going to be held, and in Kerala. So two southern states are going to vote in 2026. So the idea is that should not get affected. Don't take the latest census, and much more, the Lok Sabha in 2029, that should not have what Stalin would argue, a greater representation of seats from, let's say, the north, where population is growing, and an underrepresentation of seats from the south. If the old formula of representation will happen, let's assume for a moment, though it might change, but let's assume that if that happens, then Tamil Nadu, which has technically 39 seats in the Lok Sabha, that would come down to 31. And the other southern states would also lose out, in the case of Kerala, in the case of, as I said, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, and others. Whereas the share of Uttar Pradesh would go up from 80 to 91 by the old formula, and that of Bihar from 40 seats to 50 seats. And some of the other seats, some of the other states in the north would also end up getting a slight advantage. So that is what Stalin is opposing, along with this imposition of a three-language formula that the NDA government wants to bring about through the new education policy. Because in Tamil Nadu, the government schools only teach two languages, Tamil and English for Tamil students, and English and some other language for non-Tamil students. The government schools have only been doing that, and quite successfully so. So, Tamil Nadu is one of the most educated states in India, along with Kerala and some of the other states. And as I argued in my last video which I made on this issue, the imposition of, I had called it that the imposition of Hindi in Tamil Nadu is bound to backfire. So that, in fact, that video has become very popular. In fact, it has gone almost viral, and a lot of people have appreciated it. So now I wanted to discuss this issue of delimitation. So that is the position of Stalin, and the Karnataka chief minister just a few days ago had also proposed that the 1971 census should be the basis for 30 more years. Do not go into later census. Now, let me point out that delimitations in India has been attempted in the past, right after independence, in 51, in 61, by 1976, the issue became so politically hot based on the 71 census that Mrs. Gandhi argued that we will freeze it. We will not carry it out for the next 30 years. And Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2002 had kind of seconded that for frozen status till 2026. So now the issue is again opening up, because now it would mean 30 years delay and another 30 years delay. It's going to be like a 60 years delay. You can't, it sounds preposterous if you are actually thinking that in the next 30 years, till the next 30 years, you keep relying on the 1971 census. Why? Why is it preposterous? One, because delimitation is very important to figure out the quality of representation, the fairness of representation. Because remember, India is a developing country where population growth rate in the past used to gallop. Now it has kind of reduced, but then there are differences, right? Certain caste numbers are going up, certain community numbers are going up, some others are coming down. So we keep assessing that through caste survey, for example, as I pointed out earlier, and through census operations. And you need to fix in such a manner that a Lok Sabha constituency is manageable and fair to its representation. One Lok Sabha constituency in one part of the country must kind of match a Lok Sabha constituency in another part of the country, more or less. There can be some minor adjustments here and there, but it should seem that you are following the principle of one man, one vote, one value, which in India, we decided to follow under our constitution. And, the simple majority vote, the first past the post system that we have, which we basically copied the model from Britain in a way, with again some minor adjustments. So we must follow that. These are the two central principles that constitute the philosophy of delimitation, I would argue. This is very unlike, let's say, Western Europe. Many of the countries there have a proportional representation system. So therefore, the entire voting principle changes there compared to, let's say, India. Or, for example, the American system, where you have, for example, the Senate, the upper house is very powerful, and it's very funny, the upper house. Over there, each state has only 2 representatives. So California and Texas, which are the largest states, end up getting only 2 sort of congressmen, senators in the US Senate. And smaller states like Rhode Island, or even other smaller states all over the in, for example, northeast of the US, also ends up getting 2. So I find that system extremely unfair. So some proposals have been made that why don't we kind of increase the representation of, let's say, quote unquote, southern states in Rajya Sabha, in the upper house, in such a way that they kind of balance the growth of population in the north and underrepresentation in the south. But I feel that will not work in India for 2 reasons. A, in India, the upper house is not as powerful as the lower house. The Lok Sabha, and in some of the states in India are unicameral. They just have one assembly. They do not even have a council, which is the equivalent of the Rajya Sabha in the center. So what I'm arguing is that in India, it's elected bodies like the Lok Sabha and the assemblies which control power. They are the only chambers that can introduce money bill. So they control the purses. So the important debates are actually held in the Lok Sabha, and many a time, just through a Lok Sabha debate, certain policies have been passed without a sort of even taking into consideration the Rajya Sabha. For example, let's say the Aadhaar card. It was simply passed by the Lok Sabha. So what I'm trying to point out, in India, the whole issue is of Lok Sabha. uh, and the assemblies in the states. The whole question of delimitation will be centered around these two. Now, the BJP, for example, has argued that Amit Shah went to Coimbatore, and there he argued that they will make sure that the southern states representation as exists will not be reduced. So, for example, if Tamil Nadu has 39, it will stay at 39. It will not come down to 31, as, for example, Mr. Stalin fears, or some of the other southern states fear that their numbers would come down. So the basic promise Amit Shah is making, and he's saying Prime Minister Narendra Modi is backing it, is that they will freeze that. You cannot go below. But the point is not only that. The point is the northern states' numbers might increase, as I said, UP from 80 to 91 by the old formula, in Bihar from 40 to 50, and there might be new formulas. So the question is, the fear among southern states, and especially the way Stalin is raising it, he has called it the delimitation is the Damoclean sword hanging, on our heads, the sword. So the fear is that the overall representation of South will become less in the Indian Parliament. That is what is the biggest fear. It's not so much the assemblies, but the Lok Sabha's composition. Therefore, parties such as DMK, which is essentially a Tamil Nadu party, or let's say other parties, Anna DMK, or let's say the left party in Kerala, or other parties in Karnataka and Andhra, their numbers, their representation will come down compared to, let's say, in this case, as Stalin would argue, the Bharatiya Janata Party. The North already has a hegemony over the South. The BJP is very popular in the North, not so much in the South. So his argument is that this is unfair to the South. That is the basic question, and that is why he is arguing for 91 census as the basis for 30 more years. Now, what has happened at this moment? The assembly election of Tamil Nadu will not get affected by this. Why? Because the census results are not yet out. Delimitation exercises will take a longer time. So this particular election in Tamil Nadu will not get affected. And Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi is arguing that seats will not go down. But the entire thing has got polarized, and the entire thing has become a political issue where Stalin has emerged as the hero, not only Tamil Nadu, but of the South. And remember, he has brought all the Tamil Nadu parties in that meeting, and his rivals, the Anna DMK, supported him. So in a way, he is become the hegemon from Tamil Nadu, and in a way, a hero of the South. 1 year, 2 or 3 months before the assembly election. So the only party marginalized here, isolated, is the BJP. So Stalin very cleverly has brought this issue up, which is vexing a lot of people in Tamil Nadu, both the imposition of Hindi or a 3-language formula in the schools, which Tamil Nadu government does not want. As I pointed out, the Tamil Nadu government schools only have 2-language formula. So both these issues have suddenly sprang Stalin into the center of Indian politics. He's become the new hero, and this is bound to continue certainly till the elections of next year. We will see how it pans out. But is there a way out? Is there a way out of this? Because the central government, the NDA government, may not agree to the 1971 census, because they might argue the whole thing will become 60 years old. It's kind of ridiculous. And there might be political reasons why the NDA government won't agree. So is there a way out? And my suggestion is that the way out of it is making the Lok Sabha constituencies smaller in India, because Indian Lok Sabha constituencies are the largest in the world. one Lok Sabha constituency in central, in North India, even in South India, might have something like 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs people. Now, that is just unmanageable for one member of parliament. It's like the Indian districts. Some of these districts are so large in terms of population that the DM doesn't have the resources, or the SP doesn't have the resources to control crime or to bring about good governance. So my argument will be, expand the size of the Lok Sabha. Instead of what we have right now, 500 and, let's say 45, 25 members, 500 plus members, let's have a much larger Lok Sabha where the constituencies will be smaller and more manageable. And what you do is, when you reapportion these constituencies, when you redistrict them, or let's say delimit them, what you do is, don't simply go by population, add a few other criteria, as we have done in the case of Jammu and Kashmir and in the case of Assam. In both these states, some of the constituencies, very few people are there, or they, far away they live from the polling booth, and this and that. So several issues were used to apportion these, for example, the assemblies over there. And there were challenges to it. In fact, someone took this case in Jammu and Kashmir to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court argued that the Delimitation Commission is the final word. We cannot sort of challenge them once they come up with a decision, because it's an expert body, a very high-powered body. Then their decision is the final, because they are taking care of so many factors, very sensitive factors. So the Supreme Court has argued that that becomes law. The moment the Delimitation Commission comes up with recommendations, that becomes law. So my point is that if there could be a debate on this expansion of the Lok Sabha, now we have a new parliament, a very large parliament, where we could have more members sitting and debating. After all, the British Parliament is such a small country, UK. The British Parliament has more than 600 plus members. Why does the Indian Parliament, which is probably almost like 10 to 15 times the size of Britain in terms of population and geographically so large, why do we only have 545 or 525 elected members? So that is what I think, where adjustments could be made, and the issues that Mr. Stalin, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, and other southern leaders are raising can be addressed, and at the same time ensuring that the northern chief ministers don't get upset. They should not feel that they are feeling underrepresented. One should work out a formula which takes care of all these demands, but at the same time, constitutionally and in principle, it should follow one man, one vote, one value, and the single and the so-called simple majority system, first past the post. One little rider. At one time when India became independent in 1947, for the first 10 years, we had some Lok Sabha constituencies which were multi-member, which would have two representatives, two MPs, one scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and one from the general criteria. So if we could have had multi-member constituencies at that time, one could also experiment with that to address this fear of underrepresentation by the southern states by Mr. Stalin. How this will pan out, we right now we do not know, but the politics of delimitation and the politics of, in this case, two new categories that have been created, the South and the North, is going to become a hot political issue, at least until the next assembly round of elections sort of takes place in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala. So let's see which way things will pan out. But right now, the hero of the delimitation politics is Mr. Stalin, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, who has right now addressed it in a way he's become the leader of the South. Thank you very much.